Hey guys, welcome to today's video and welcome on into my beauty stash. Today we're going to do an eyeshadow palette ranking video. I'm going to be ranking 19 eyeshadow palettes. These are all of the palettes that I've tried so far this year, quarter one. That's how I'm living my life now. Instead of 6 weeks when I was a teacher, now it's going to quarters now that I'm a corporate girly. But nevertheless, I think this is how I'm going to be going about ranking my palettes in the future. Let a few months go by, let the quarter go by, and then I will wrap them up or round them up and rank them for you guys. And the way I'm going to rank these palettes, I go based off of course, performance, my color story preference, my size. I take cost into consideration. There's all kinds of different factors that I take into consideration. And no offense to anyone if some of your favorites make my bottom or they don't make my list at all. And also, I love to try indie brands. So you're going to see a lot of indie makeup in today's roundup. I filmed this look already. It'll be up towards the end of the video using one of the palettes that is in today's video. If you're curious about any of the makeup that I'm wearing, everything will be linked and listed in the description box. And if you do buy from any of those links, codes, whatever it is, I thank you so much for helping me support this channel. I'm not going to be saying all of my affiliate codes as I go through this ranking video. I'm just going to pop them up on the bottom of the screen and you can take advantage of that savings if you choose to do so. Let's get started, guys. If y'all want to see how these 19 palettes rank in my stash, keep on watching. Okay, so coming in at the bottom of the list, number 19, we have, surprise, surprise, the Natasha Denona Mini Eye Sculpt palette. This is a little all matte 5-pan palette. Normally, I love Natasha Denona mini palettes. I collect them all. I have so many, but for some reason, and I just wore this one last week, it looks patchy on my eyes, and I've tried it with different primers. I've even tried just wearing it with concealer. It's hit or miss for me. Some days it's great, other days it's not so great. And I don't know, for a brand that's been very consistent, I find it odd that this one just hasn't been working for me. Now coming in the number 18 spot is this one right here from Moira. I recently got a code from Moira, but my code changed from my initial video that I filmed with it. My code is now Steff with 3 Fs and then the number 15. And it does save you 15% off. And I wanted to make that statement because of the change, and I did update it in some of my more recent videos in the description boxes, but my link also changed a little bit. Not too sure why they explained it to me, but I was like, that doesn't make sense. But anyway, we're not here to talk about my codes. We're here to talk about this palette, and this palette is called Pretty Little Thoughts. You know, this is a cool tone neutral palette. It's cute, but I don't know, I felt like the shadows kind of faded away at the end of the day. I've used it a couple times since initially filming. Like, it's just okay. Like, it's just a basic neutral palette. And the thing with Moira is their stuff is not very expensive, so I don't feel bad having bought this palette and it not working the way, you know, some of my other favorite indie brand palettes perform. This is just like maybe a palette you'll want to keep at your office desk and touch up throughout the day, but it's not really a palette that I'd take on a vacation for a week long and I know I needed to get, you know, fully made up every day. I would not count on this palette to do that for me. Coming in at number 17 is the Dexter and Lethal Cosmetics collaboration. I thought this was very interesting. So you can see this is a thick palette. You open it right here. And then my mirror, I have to press it back in. The mirror's right here. It had already fallen off. And I just got this February, I think. So yeah, for the mirror to already be coming unglued, that's not really a good sign. This is primarily a red, gray brown palette, but you are definitely seeing all of those reds in there. This right here, at first I thought the shade was broken, but it's supposed to have the little red splatters in it. I have not seen Dexter. I know it is a TV show, but I have not watched it. For those of you who have watched it, you all told me that this color story was on point. Even the packaging was on point. I like Lethal Cosmetics. I think that they produce some really amazing things, and they just reached out to me. They are going to send me something in PR for their spring collection. I did receive this one in PR, so thank you so much to the Lethal Cosmetics team for sending it my way. Unfortunately, it's not one of my favorite color stories. You know, it's not a color story that I gravitate towards. And the packaging for me, while I think it's on point, you all have said it's on point, it's just it's a little bit of a hassle to store. And so that's why it's kind of finding itself on the bottom of my list. Now, coming in at number 16, we have this little palette right here from Sephora. And I would say from this point forward, all of the palettes are pretty decent. They're pretty good. So it's just a matter of color story and whether I've been reaching for them or not. But this little Sephora Mega Mix palette, there's several different shades in this to choose from. This is the one I chose. I went for the more neutral, kind of cool tone leaning palette. It performed well. The shimmers were good. This is a nice palette to take with you traveling. I would recommend this if you had like maybe a 2 or 3 night stay, a quick business trip, whatever it is you're going on. This palette will perform for you, and it's nice, concise, and what I like is that you have the little elastic to keep it closed. And I want to say this retailed for like $24 or less. Now, coming in at number 15, we have a Morphe palette. And I'm sorry that I don't know the name of this palette. It says Artistry Palette, but then inside Feed Your Fantasy, and it's this one right here. I think there were 2 different palettes released at this time. This is the one I chose to go with. I've been using this several times. I used it last week as a matter of fact, and I love it. I think it's just a quick, easy palette. You have these 2 neutral shades that kind of almost mirror one another, but I like the nice smooth green shadow in there. You have a blue, kind of like a periwinkle shade, some other, you know, more neutral shadows. It's a very, very light palette. Obviously, this is going to be the deepest shade of the bunch, but I like that it's a 9-pan palette. And for those of you that need to wear something a little bit more neutral, a little bit more light, maybe for work, or maybe that's just your preference, Morphe has been rebranding, reformulating, and I think they're doing a good job. So yay, Morphe. Now, coming in at number 14, we have from CXC Beauty. This is their Raven's Revenge palette. This is hard packaging, like hard plastic packaging. You do get the shade names on the back, and I've reviewed several of their palettes before, and they've all performed really, really well. This is what the color story looks like. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful color story, and the shimmers are really pretty. These are not like multi-chrome or duochrome, but they do have a nice little shift to them, and they do sparkle really well. I would recommend using a shimmer primer with them. I do think that the mattes blend out well, and I think overall it's just a nice cohesive palette. There's obviously many different looks that you can create with this palette. You can kind of take it maybe in 2 rows like that going down. Definitely have the greens. You have this middle that's going to be reds and pinks and whatnot, and then you have some purple and gray tones over here. I like that they do a dark matte brown, and then a dark matte blue and a black, even a dark green over here. So I think it's a very cohesive palette. If you've never tried this brand, I would look through their extensive inventory that they have online. Pick a palette. They even make 9-pan palettes out of these larger palettes, and maybe that's a way that you'll be able to try the brand. But overall, I've been very pleased with Raven's Revenge, well, with the palette, but also with CXC Beauty. They're doing some great things over there, and thank you so much for sending me this palette in PR. Now, coming in at number 13, might surprise some of you, Natasha Denona Bloom palette. This is her latest palette, and this is a midi size. My favorites are midi size and mini size, and this is what Bloom looks like. It's a beautiful palette. I love this color story, but it's just not a color story that I reach for every day. And if I was gonna reach for a palette, the same palette every day, I think I'd go with her My Dream palette, or I Need a Nude palette, or the mini I Need a Nude palette. I think I'd probably reach for some of those over this one, just because I don't always love the way red and deeper orange look on me. But I still think the palette was executed really, really well. The shadows on point, they're consistent with her great formula. I didn't notice any patchiness or skipping or anything like that. It was really easy to use this palette. It's a user-friendly palette, and if you love these tones, you will not be disappointed. I know Natasha Denona was recently having a sale. I'll have my affiliate code down here in case you want to take advantage of that. I don't know if it'll work with the codes, but you can try it. But I've always been a fan of Natasha Denona. I do collect her palettes, and I do like this one, just not enough for it to be a little higher up, and that's only because of the color story. Now, coming in at number 12, we have Simply Posh Cosmetics and their latest Snow Angel palette. This is their winter drop for 2024-2025. And I think it is a beautiful palette. These are beautiful duo multi-chrome shadows, and you can pop them all out, put them in your own palette, whatever you want to do. But I really like this one. I always like that they have a theme with their palette. So they always do like a row of lighter matte shades, they do a row of shimmers, and then they do a row of darker matte shadows. And you can clearly see that here in the lineup. Of course, you can just go down each row, and that can be a look for you, or you can mix and match the way I love to do and get whatever comes to mind. But I have had good luck with this palette. I like it. There were also some liquid blushes that are super pigmented, definitely worth checking out. And of course, they had some very neutral lip glosses from the collection. I would definitely recommend the palette and the blushes. I think that was the standout thing from the Snow Angel collection, but I believe it is still in stock. I don't know for how much longer. I feel like this was limited edition, so if you want it, you better grab it fast. Now, coming in at number 11, we have one of two Nomad Cosmetics palettes that are on this list, and this is the Après Ski palette, or the Chamois Après Ski palette. Hope I'm not butchering that, but this is a beautiful color story, and it was between this palette and then the one I'm wearing right now, which in determining which eye look I was going to go with today. So I'll let you know in a little bit which palette I have on, but maybe you can take a guess if you remember some of the palettes that I've reviewed already this year. This is a gorgeous palette. It has green, it has blue, it has pink and purple, and I just think that there's so much stuff that you can do with it. Obviously, you can create light looks with it because you have those light matte shadows, but then you have a couple deeper tone matte shadows that can kind of just deepen up the look, make it a little more smoky, a little more evening. I always like to deepen up my looks. I don't always like the way a light look looks on me. I would prefer just maybe not to do a look and just really play up the blush and the mascara. But I mean, you do you, whatever you feel comfortable with. It's just that for me and pastels, they're not really my thing, but I love this palette. It's the same great Nomad Cosmetics formula. I love it. And what I especially love about Nomad Cosmetics is that they always give back to the area from which the palette represents. Love that about them, and I'm always gonna have Nomad Cosmetics in my stash. This one is coming in at, what did I say? Coming in at number 11. Okay, so now we are in the top 10, and the first one in the top 10, number 10, is from Clarity Cosmetics. This is their revamped I Love Coffee palette. I have used this quite a bit since receiving it. Did I buy this, or did they send it to me in PR? I sometimes buy my Clarity stuff. Actually, no, I did buy this. I bought this when I bought their concealer and setting powder. So I love it. I think it's a nice neutral palette from the original, which I don't remember because I I think when it came out, I either wasn't on YouTube or I just hadn't heard of Clarity Cosmetics. But from what I know, they've added more shades. Of course, they've changed the formula. And I think that this is really pretty. This is a great everyday wearable palette. These are multi-chrome foiled shadows. They're beautiful. They're stunning shimmers. The mattes are so good. They're easy to blend. They're pigmented. I like that we're getting the matte black in there because if you have a matte black, there's all kinds of things that you can do with it. You could lay it down all over the lid and then put a shimmer over it, totally change the way the shimmer is going to look. There's just so many different directions that you can go. You can do a little bit lighter, medium, deep, whatever you want. But I really do think that this screams I love coffee, and I like how it opens like a book. You get a full-size mirror. I believe that this one is still in stock, so grab it if you want it. Now, coming in at number 9, we have the first of two Adept Cosmetics palettes, and this one right here is the revamped Minka palette. I love the original Minka palette in the faux leather packaging, but this one, they've added more shades to it, and they've given us more matte shades as well, which I always felt that Adept Cosmetics was lacking. Sometimes their palettes only had 2 matte shades or 3 matte shades. I like to see pretty much an even split just because I use more mattes in a look than I do shimmers. And I think that they did this Minka palette just beautifully. I love it. Purple lovers, pink lovers, this is definitely going to be something that you want to have in your stash. Last I heard, they were taking this on pre-order. So if you want it, grab it. You will see another Adept Cosmetics palette coming up in a few. But definitely Minka was always a winner for me, the original, and this new revamped version is no different. Now coming in at number 8, we have Fantasy Cosmetica and their Monk palette. And what do you think? You think that this is the one that I have on my eyes today? Yes, you would be right, and I will be showing you a quick tutorial on how I got this look right after the video. But I love a color story like this. I love yellows and browns and golds. Again, very wearable. And I did a little halo eye here with this one. I just thought it went perfect with my green dress. This palette, the shimmers, beautiful. They're multi-chromes, duochromes. The mattes are super buttery, and I like that it's a 9-pan palette. It takes the guesswork out of creating looks. It makes it easy to travel with. I just think Fantasy Cosmetica is one of those brands, if they are not on your radar, you gotta add them for 2025. Now coming in at number 7, we're going back to Adept Cosmetics and their latest Adept, or I should say, Emo Adept palette, and it's the black and white hard shell plastic packaging. Kind of reminds me again of Natasha Denona, and these are the shadows in here. I thought this palette performed really well. I love the matte black, the dark brown. You have like a blue gray shade in here, kind of like a light green up here, a light pink, and a lavender shade. This is just a beautiful, beautiful palette. Now, I will say what we found out in my 2-look tutorial review over this is that the Gourmand Girl Shimmer Primer doesn't play nice with these particular shimmers, but the one from Moira, which is super similar to the one from NYX, so I'm sure NYX and Moira, they do mesh well with these shimmers. So for whatever reason, that's what reviews are for. If you have your Moira or NYX primer, I would definitely use it with these shimmers. I think it's a beautiful palette, and I like, again, we're getting more matte shades. We're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matte shades in this 15-pan palette. I'm happy with this one. I'm liking the packaging. You can pop out the shades in the back, put them in your own palette if you choose to do so. I like the direction Adept Cosmetics is going in. They've updated their formula, and I think it's fantastic. Now, coming in at number 6, we have the Gargoyle palette from Unearthly Cosmetics. Let's take a peek inside this one. I love it. I love the color story. This is a big 18-pan palette. You got some nice squares there, but I just love the color story on this one. I think it is so fun. There's a lot of things that you can do with it. Notice that you have some lighter shades over here, you know, and then you have your deeper tones and stuff. There's a lot that can be done. You have browns, blues, maroon, purple shades, some greens in there. I feel like I'm going to be doing a one of my videos where I do a palette of the day, not palette of the day. Here I am. I just started this series and I'm already forgetting the name of it. It's because I went back and forth with different names and what was I going to title it, but it escapes my mind at the moment. I am calling it Palette Revisit, and I'll be doing that to palettes that I've reviewed recently that I'm only able to do maybe 1 or 2 looks with. I'll be giving you guys hopefully a third look with it and we'll revisit it. I'll make sure to include swatches in those videos because sometimes when I'm initially reviewing, I just don't have time to do those swatches. But this is definitely a palette that I want to do for that series just because I haven't used it in a while and I like it. I think the color story is really fun, really pretty. I'm not too sure about if it's in stock or not, but it could be on pre-order, and I definitely think it's worth the pre-order if you find that this color story is something that appeals to you. I believe they're having a new release coming out soon. I think it's lipsticks, if I'm not mistaken. They're expanding upon their existing line, so be sure to check that out if you're an Unearthly Cosmetics fan like I am. I did purchase this one myself, and I'm excited. I'm glad that I have it in my collection. Now, we're into the top 5, and coming in at number 5 is Udenzai by Morgan Turner, and this is her Love Language palette. Perfect little palette for Valentine's Day. Love it. It is just so, so cute. It screams love. It screams Valentine's Day. I'm not a regular on Morgan Turner's channel. I watch her more on Instagram. She is so cute and she's just full of information and she's just so excited about the makeup and the stuff that she's reviewing. Go check her out if you haven't already, which I know probably most of you have. But I like what she did here. I like this color story that they came up with. It's a little playful, it's a little fun, it's a little neutral. It's like we go to work, but then we go to party right after work, and those are just the vibes that I'm getting. Kind of similar vibes that I get from the new Nomad Fairy Tale Europe palette. I feel like Disney princess. You know, I feel like princess vibes from this and just love all around. And I think they did a beautiful job together. So congratulations, Udenzai and Morgan Turner. Another amazing palette in time for Valentine's Day. Now coming in at number 4, we have another Valentine's Day or maybe an anti-Valentine's Day palette. And it is this one right here from Gourmand Girls. This is their Bitten palette. And this is another one that I'm going to put in another one of my palette revisit videos. I think this one might be the next one, we'll see. But this is just a gorgeous, deep, dark color story while still having a couple lighter shades to anchor the look with. I love what Christina did here. Christina is the owner of Gourmand Girls. I love the layout, everything. I do know that Doodles by the Bunny, aka Angela, she is the one who designed the artwork. They are just such an amazing team together. But this is a beautiful palette. You can do some red looks, purple looks, blue looks in there. Well, no, green. This is kind of like a blue purplish shade. You have a light gray. And this one is not a matte white. This is kind of like an iridescent white shade, but I just love the different shades in here. I think this was a nice Valentine's Day release, and this was, I think, almost the anti-Valentine's Day, if you want to put it that way. And Gourmand Girls, they just have a great formula that keeps getting better and better. Love them. If you haven't tried them, pick this one up. Now coming in at number 3, Nomad Fairy Tale Europe palette. This was my first palette revisit video, first palette I used for that video for that new series here on my channel, and this is the palette. It's Disney princess. It's, you know, the princess is in the castle. It's royalty. It's beautiful. It's, I don't know. I just love looking at it. I think a bubble gum over here, and my favorite is just that they gave us the row of neutrals at the bottom and then allowed us to have fun with all the shimmers at the top. I think these shimmers are absolutely beautiful. They have some beautiful shifts to them, the mattes are effortless. Like they just blend so well. They're buttery smooth. I do recommend a shimmer primer. My Gourmand Girls does work great with this one. So, yeah, I love it. And a lot of you, I think, love it already. A lot of you have already received it or you are receiving it. This is a permanent in their collection. So if you can't get it right now, rest assured it will stay around for quite some time. But I think it definitely deserves top 3 so far of 2025. Now, coming in at number 2 is a color story that I absolutely, absolutely love. Love, love, love. And it is this one right here from Bella Beauty Bar. This is their Morally Gray palette. And I love even more that it's a little 9-pan palette. You can see mine has been well loved. But I never get tired of pink and gray. I think they are just such a beautiful color combination, not just makeup wise, but fashion wise. I just think it's beautiful and I love it. I think it's a classic look. Bella Beauty Far has one of the best formulas out there, especially when it comes to multi-chromes and duochromes. If you haven't tried them, this is a brand that needs to be on your radar for 2025. They're absolutely beautiful. With this palette, you can see that you can pop out the shadows and put them in your own palette if you wish to do so. This was kindly sent to me in PR by the Bella Beauty Bar team, so thank you guys so much. And this also came in the collection with 2 different highlighters, intense highlighters. Highlighters were a little too textured for me, so I probably use them maybe as eyeshadows, but this palette, stunning, beautiful. Get it on your eyes. Thank me later. Now, coming in the number 1 spot is a palette that I'm not too sure is in stock, or it might be on pre-order. I have a feeling you guys sold this palette out. Now I'm talking about Artitude Ink and Roses. This is a UK-based indie makeup brand. Look at how beautiful that cover art is. But wait till you see what's inside the palette, because I've gotten so many compliments on this palette. When I create different eye looks, I'm always getting compliments. This was released in time for Valentine's Day, and you can see it is a very Valentine's Day inspired palette, but you have some other shades in there that are very unique, like this mint green, this darker green, a light gray, just everything. It's just so beautiful. The darker brown, you have this like maroon shade over here, you have lighter tones mixed with deeper tones. I think that's definitely the way to go. And then look at all those beautiful multi and duochrome shadows. I absolutely love this one, and it works with my Gourmand Girl shimmer primer. It works with my Moira primer too, and I just think it is very well executed. It's a beautiful 16-pan palette, and I love the direction Artitude Cosmetics is going in. They have recently rebranded, so this is their new logo and everything. And I love it. I love when a brand, you know, takes feedback from their customers and they use that to just lift themselves up and make themselves better and tweak things here and there. That's exactly what, you know, I try to do from all of y'all. I read your comments, even though I'm not able to respond to every single comment. I make sure to heart it. But I always take your feedback and I try and use it to improve upon my channel and, you know, just fix little things here and there. Of course, you know, my life has gone in a different direction. I don't have the time that I used to have, let's say, you know, 2 years ago. I work a full-time job now, and it does require me to work after work, working hours from time to time, and sometimes on the weekends. So, you know, I'm a little more cautious with my time, and that's why you all don't see me uploading every day the way I used to. And I miss that. That was a lot of fun. But, you know, life changes, and we have to, you know, go with it. And I'm happy. That's the main thing. So, I'm hoping that you guys have been enjoying the content thus far and that you will enjoy the new content I am planning in the future. Now, let me show you guys how I created this look with the Fantasy Cosmetica Monk palette. Okay guys, so this is the completed look with the Fantasy Cosmetica Monk palette. One of my favorites so far of 2025. Love a good yellow eyeshadow palette. Let me know what you thought of today's ranking. Did some of your favorite palettes make my list in the correct order, or maybe some of your favorites were towards my bottom? These are just all based on color preference and performance, size of the palette. I take a lot of factors into consideration. And of course, these are just my thoughts. Your thoughts are your thoughts, and your thoughts are great. But let's compare notes. Sound off in the comments down below. I want to thank you guys so much for watching another one of my videos. Y'all have a great day or night wherever it is y'all are at. Stay hydrated, drink that water, and I'm going to see y'all very soon. Bye.